Hi friends, Kansi here from atop Serenity Hill. I'm also the host of a membership called the Creative Playground. It is where I help creatives embrace play, curiosity, and imperfection in their art practice. It is also the place where I get asked the question, what are your favorite supplies? What do you use? And where I share mostly, because in our live get-togethers, we're always sharing new things we found or tried and true products. So today I thought for here on YouTube, I would do a video about the things I use. I will share specific products and specific brands that I like. They could be things that you would use something different. You can see there's a variety of things on my table. This is just me sharing what I use on a dailyish way or a dailyish time in my art practice and in my art journals and my junk journals, okay? So I'm going to push everything to the side and then we're going to get started one at a time and I'll share what it is I use. Okay, we'll start with pens and pencils. So when I'm going through the supplies today, this is specifics as opposed to I use a regular number 2 pencil and an eraser all the time. It doesn't matter what you use, just get a pencil and eraser. So this is more specific, all right? So I use a lot of doodling pens. Not a lot of doodling pens. I do a lot of doodling. And the doodling pen that I love the most is a Sharpie pen. I like it because it is inexpensive, available everywhere, and it doesn't bleed through anything. So that is my favorite doodling pen. The other pens that I use are a white Jelly Roll, and I do have this in black as well. And then I use a white Signo Uniball pen as well. I do love these, but they don't always work on a lot of mixed media. So when it comes to a lot of mixed media, I like using paint pens. And I was introduced to Posca a few years ago and really enjoyed them. And I had white and black only for many, many years. And then eventually added a color. I have a whole set of color Poscas. And I like the black and white I have in many different sizes. These are the 3M. You can see right there, that's what it is. And then I have these in the 5M, the colors. So I don't buy everything in every size, just what I'm going to use. But I like a paint pen for the fact that it goes over a multitude of mixed media and I don't destroy it the way that I can destroy these pens going over a ton of mixed media. So those are my choices. By the way, everything I talk about today, if I have a link for them, I will put a link below and you can go check them out if that's something you would want to do. It's not that important. Use what you have. I love using colored pencils as well. I use colored pencils to shade, add a little bit of color. I use them with watercolor a lot. It's my way of deepening my watercolor, but I also like the idea that they give us texture when they hit certain kinds of paper. So the brand that I have, for no other reason than I inherited this set of colored pencils from my husband, is Prismacolor. But I also know that the brand is a really great brand if you have the ability to purchase them. Buying just an inexpensive set of watercolor pencils, not watercolor, just colored pencils, like a Crayola, a kid's version, is also acceptable. So try them. If you don't like using colored pencils, there's no point in going out and spending a whole lot of money on Prismacolor just because someone said they're the best, okay? If you fall in love with colored pencils, then yes, go buy yourself the best that your budget allows. I just happen to have had these for many years because my husband had them in his art practice before he went more digital. And so I use them and I love them, okay? So colored pencils. And we'll just kind of add this here. So watercolor is probably another thing that I use a ton of. I use it all the time. This was before I started with just an inexpensive set. Let me grab that actually. This is what I mean by an inexpensive set. I used this for years. I still use this. I take this when I go teach in person, and I find it just absolutely fun. So this pan set is a great place to begin. You can get a version of this on Amazon, at Michael's, at your local craft stores. Almost all of them have their own in-house brand, and this pan set shows up in all of them, okay? So once I had that one, I really enjoy it, and I still use it to this day. Then I went to this set, which is, oops, it's right in front, which is the Sakura Koi watercolor set, and I use this, still do, and you can see these are just pans that people have sent me that I always just add in. I used this for many years, still use it, until someone shared this set with me. And the reason I love this set is nothing other than there is a million color choices in one set. So if you get to know me or know me already, you'll know that I like to have all the colors. My entire world, I mean, I showed you the color pencils in rainbow order. I love the rainbow. Why choose one when you can have all of them? So this is from Grabby, and so I really loved that you had regular watercolors here, and then these are shimmers and metallics and neons, all in the same color palette. And I really like how they look. So this is the swatch sheet, which you can see has been abused. And so I use watercolors all the time. I love using watercolor because I don't have to open up a million jars of acrylic paint in order to have all the colors, okay? So watercolors are something I do not live without. So then, speaking of color and then acrylics, where acrylic painting is where I really started back like 25 plus years ago, and I worked with almost 99% were craft acrylics. This is my current favorite brand, this Craft Smart. It is the perfect consistency for me as far as how I use acrylic paint. It's a little bit thinner, it flows easier, it's not a heavy body. I do have those and I use them when I want to use them, but if I was to tell someone, you know, grab a white, a pink, a black, you know, a green, a rainbow, if you will, of color, then something simple and inexpensive like Craft Smart is a good choice. I mean, 99 cents a bottle, they'll last you a long time, okay? So that is paint. Then if I was to go one step further with another like pencil or another medium would be these Inktense pencils. So I don't use, let me get one that you can actually read it. I don't use watercolor pencils. I like these Inktense by Derwent pencils. They are filled with solidified ink as opposed to watercolor. They're super vibrant, so when you color with them and you add water to them, they do what a watercolor pencil does, but they're a lot more vibrant, and they I can actually show them. Let me show you. And they, once they're dry, then they, ooh, we're using black, okay. And once they're dry, then they don't reactivate like watercolor does. So you can see what it does, okay? So that might have been, oh, it's bark, that's why it's dark. Let's just add another color here. And so you can see that they're very pretty. And of course, I said vibrant, and none of these is actually vibrant that I pulled out, but that's okay. You can see how strong maybe would be a good word. And of course, you know, you can always just go straight to the pencil and work with it. All right. So if you wanted to add another color medium to your repertoire, then Inktense pencils would be something that I would recommend that you try and see if you like them. Okay. All right. So moving on, glue. As a mixed media person, I use a ton of paper and collage. So I'll just add these to the side because I'm going to talk about them. So the two glues that I use the absolute most are a glue stick, Yoo-hoo, And then art glitter glue, which is like a white craft glue, but it dries super, super fast and also clear. So these are two brands that I love. They have worked well for me, so I continue to use them. I also, for glue sticking, this is something I learned about not recently, but within the last year, and just can't imagine why I didn't have it. And that's just an old book. You can see this book was destroyed, so I use it, and I use it to glue on so I don't get glue on my table or in my books or in my journals. So I'm constantly using this as a surface to glue against. Once it gets all yucky, I rip the page out and either use it or throw it away. And so this is something I didn't realize I would need. I would just use loose pieces of paper, but this is like having loose pieces of paper all bound together, ready to go. Okay, so get yourself one of those. A bone folder. Whether you use a real bone folder or a vegan version of a bone folder, whatever works for you as far as your life and choices come, a bone folder, if you can get it, is invaluable for, just being able to crease pages easier. And you can use the handle of a pair of scissors or anything else. But I have found a bone folder to be invaluable. It also helps you score pages if you need to do that. So if you can get that, I would add this as a necessity in my world for our mixed media. As far as paintbrushes, since I'm, just gathering up what's around me, these two paintbrushes are pretty much the ones I pull up, I pick. And not necessarily these specific paint brushes, but the sizes. So I use a filbert. This is a number 10 filbert. It has got a rounded top to it. Okay. A flat brush will also work just fine, like a number 12 flat, number 10 flat. And then I use a round brush. This one is a number 8. Okay. And I use these all the time. Yes, I use bigger brushes. Yes, I use smaller brushes. But pretty much, if I'm picking up a paintbrush, it's these. Okay. So those are my favorite. As far as brands are concerned, I do not have a love of any specific brand. I do like handles that aren't wooden because I leave my brushes in the water and this is what happens. It gets destroyed. Okay. So if you can get brushes that have more of acrylic handles to them, then you won't destroy them if you happen to be like me and leave them in the water for days on end. Not a good habit, but one that I have. Just has to be. Okay. All right. So another art supply that I do not live without is stencils. You can see I use my stencils a lot. All the stencils I own are from the Crafters Workshop. I did blog posts for them many years ago, and so I own hundreds of their old stencils. Stencils do not die, so I don't buy new stencils, but I also stand behind the Crafters Workshop's brand. If you would like to use them, that would be fine. I like stencils. If don't have a lot of stencils, if this whole mixed media art journaling world is new to you and you're looking and you find this video as in new things I can buy, I love to get stencils that have multiple designs on the same stencil, as opposed to this stencil, which is just all flowers. Okay, I use this one a lot because I use the flower motif in my art journals a lot, and this has different sizes of flowers all on the same page. So it is something that comes in handy. But a stencil like this that has multiple motifs on it comes in even more handy for me because then I have lots of options to work with. Okay. And I use just makeup sponges from a dollar store or any discount store. I use them, just chop the tops off and keep using them until they're too small to be of any use. So stencils are invaluable in my work. The next thing I use a ton of are rubber stamps. I do have some rubber stamps I've collected recently that are, professionally made or bulk made and cling stamps, but my favorite stamps are the ones that I've made myself because they're the ones that I have spent time thinking up the design, carved it. It's my own, you're not going to find this necessarily in a mass-made stamp. How I carve my stamps is a video here on YouTube, so that you can check that out if you want below. If I talk about anything in this video that I think has relevance, the link for the video will be below. So you can just check out the description once you finish watching the video. So I use erasers from my local Dollar Tree or a dollar store or wherever you can find bulk erasers. You can see that's what they are. There's also, of course, rubber and other kind of surfaces that you can carve into that are made specifically for carving rubber stamps or lino cutting or lino, carving, whatever you want to call it. I just like using the erasers from the dollar store. So I have a ton of stamps. I love using them. And then I always have black ink. That was what I used for many, many years. I found the Ranger archival ink, which is the most important part. Acid-free is great. I'm not precious about my work, so I'm not looking for it to outlast me. What I want it to do is be waterproof and permanent, so that when I stamp something and then decide to throw some watercolor on top of it, I'm not smearing the ink everywhere. So I have found that the Ranger brand for me works really well. There are definitely others on the market, and you buy what is available to you, okay? I also decided recently within the last year that I wanted more colored inks in my rubber stamp. For my rubber stamping, I mean, honestly, I had black for years, and then within the last year decided colored inks. That was my new thing. And so I have a ton of these little inks that I got from Ranger, and they're in a million different colors that I can choose from. So what is it that you do when you create? Do you use a lot of black? Don't buy colored inks, okay? The same thing, I use black and white paint pens for such a long time, and then color started speaking to me in that respect. Color has always spoken to me, y'all. If you've seen my work, you know that. But then the paint pens in color were like, ooh, that seems to be a new thing I can add, okay? So you don't need all of it all at once. Just get one or two things and try, all right? So we've got our rubber stamps. Okay, so as far as mediums, I use white gesso, okay, a lot. This is the Crafter's Workshop. White gesso, I do not have a love of this brand. Not that I don't love it, I do love it, but it's not like you can only buy this brand of white gesso. You buy white gesso in whatever brand that works for you. They're all slightly different. Some are thinner, some have more like grit in them. You have to try and see what it is that you like about white gesso. But I use a lot of white gesso. One, I use it as white paint. Two, I use it to like cover collage if I'm trying to set something back. Three, I use it to prep pages. Four, I use it as a resist on a page. So there's lots of reasons to use white gesso. And I just think it is a good thing to have in your repertoire of supplies. The other thing I do love is modeling paste. This brand and this specific one, Light and Fluffy, is the one that I use exclusively. The reason being it is light and fluffy. I'll see if you can actually, it kind of looks, it's like whipped inside, and it dries somewhat clear. It's, you can tint it with acrylic paints if you want to. I guess you could tint it with watercolor if you wanted. But what I like about it is that it dries really fast. And so I can use a heat gun or a blow dryer or whatever you have to dry it really quickly when I'm using it in an art journal. So I don't have to like put all these modeling paste down through my stencil. I use it a lot through my stencils. And then have to sit and wait all day for it to dry. I want it to be done and I want to move on. So I really do recommend this specific brand, the Crafter's Workshop Light and Fluffy Modeling Paste, okay? And then the final, well, two final things. One is the other practice or the other tool, let's say what tool that I use a lot is how do I get started? How do I get started? And that is with prompts. And so this is a shameless plug for my own prompt deck, of which I will have another one coming soon. But this prompt deck has all these tiny little, you cut it all apart. It's a printable on Etsy that you can get. And you just pull a prompt and it just gets you started. Junk mail, stapler, stencil, winter, mix, tissue paper, erase, drip. So it gets you started with just a single word or two of a supply. There's like supply, technique, and I think color is the other thing. Winter would be a color for you to use. So having prompts, any prompts, it doesn't have to be my prompt deck. You can make up your own prompt deck. You can buy someone else's prompt deck. Prompts are also, to me, an invaluable tool and supply to have as part of your mixed media or journal practice, okay? So prompts. And then, of course, we are journalers and junk journalers. So paper and journals. You can't not have paper and journals. So I have 3 here, four. 2 are junk journals. So we've got this junk journal, the cover, you know, I like to make my own journals. So this is made of canvas and it's painted. It's put together with a pamphlet stitch, 3 of them, and there's 3 signatures inside. And it is literally made of junk, magazines and printables and, you know, some kind of green paper. This is under paper, book paper. This is all, like, all these papers are also something I would say I find essential. I have old books I pull from. I have magazines, you know, a few magazines that I pull from. This is, you know, tracing paper for something I was doing for someone. And you just put it to bind it together, and you have something to work on, okay? So this is, you know, ripped paper. It's not even skinny paper that has things pulled off of it. I don't even know, I guess this is some kind of a magazine or something. An old doodle sheet that I was using, old scrapbook paper, you know, I don't know, something I must have used this as, maybe I was putting paint down as a paint palette. Lined notebook paper, okay? It's all of that, as far as a mixed media, for mixed media, is fodder, okay? Any kind of paper, any kind of junk mail. You can see all the pages are all different. I don't try to keep it anything specific. It also helps, of course, to have like some mixed media paper or some watercolor paper or cardstock. That's all something that I would want. To me, that's very basic. Printer paper, because, you know, I print stuff. So all that kind of paper is something that I would say is also essential. This is old envelope. This is an actual envelope, okay? So all those things, as far as an essential is paper. So this journal is made up of just all old papers that I have. And then, you know, I have a video on how this video on how to make this is in my membership. This is part of my membership. But this one here is on YouTube, and it's made from an old gift bag, and it's the same thing. It's just all kinds of papers, all right? So I'll link how to make this below. So having a journal that's interesting to work in is also an essential for me. Another journal that I make, and I just shared here, is zines. So journals that are also small. I like to make small zines and then work in them, okay? So that's important. And then if you need a handmade, not handmade, but a mass made, it's not handmade. This is handmade. This is mass made. If you'd like a mass made journal, this is one that was introduced to me by a friend, and it is a dot journal. Let's see if I can get it. It's like a bullet journal with the dots in it. And you get it like in a 3-pack from Amazon. I'll link it below. And I really, really like the paper that's in it. It holds medium really well. You can see I've got watercolor, collage. This is tons of watercolor, collage, acrylic paint, and stenciling. You know, this is like every conceivable thing you can imagine. Colored pencil and watercolor, all right? So lots of collage. So it holds a lot of medium, and it stands up really well. So if you're looking for more of a bought journal that you're not into making your own, then I'll link this below for you as well. So that's pretty much what I consider all these my essentials, all right? This is, if I was forced to say This is what I'm taking with me. Like, I don't think I could take all this on a trip, but there would be a pared down version of it. But if I was being forced to say you have to pare down your studio to what you would consider the essential, you're looking at it. Yes, there's things like, you know, a ruler and a scissor and maybe an X-Acto knife and a hole punch. Those are basics that I think most everyone can think, you know, will I use a hole punch? Then go get a hole punch. If you're not going to, don't get one. But they're not something I grab, besides scissors, maybe every day, but these is stuff I grab every day, or daily-ish, as I like to say, to work on my art practice. So I hope this gives you some ideas, maybe something new to add to your list of supplies. Maybe it just reinforces, if you were worried that you were missing out on a supply, that you're perfectly fine. You got the right supplies. If you're new completely to this practice, maybe it just gives you a place to start, okay? Get yourself a journal, some, junk mail paper, a glue stick, maybe a black and white paint pen, a couple of pencils. Go for it. Just start working and see what is it that you feel you're missing as you watch a video. Just remember that all of us here on YouTube, or just in the art world in general, always have our favorites. And that doesn't mean that our favorites are meant to be your favorites. So go into getting supplies with curiosity. Start with a single colored pencil if you're, at an art store or a place where you can try something singly. Buy one in your favorite color and see what happens. Buy a small version of a glue stick. Buy a single stencil. See if you're going to use the stuff before you go crazy and just buy everything that someone recommends or uses in a video. Just because I'm able to use this in my art journal practice doesn't mean that you will enjoy using this stuff in your art journaling practice. All right. So have fun. Let me know below what your favorite art supply is. I would also love to know if you have any questions about a supply or something that you think that I missed. I would love to know that too, because maybe there's a supply I haven't thought of that I might want to try and I would like to go and be curious about. All right, friends. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today with my art supplies, and I will see you all soon in another video. Take care.